Namaste and welcome to the sixth session of Samkhya101 Introduction to Samkhya authored by Kapil. We have discussed quite a bit of the first chapter, and last time we had made a review of the 51 sutras we have already discussed. And a quick review of that. Let's see the slides. Yeah. So I am sharing my slides. Let me go to full screen mode so that will be easier. So this is our sixth session of Introduction to Sankhya by Kapil. Last week we had discussed not just the cause of creation, what is the purpose of creation. There exists eternal Prakriti to give rise to the universe via its transformation. And Kapil had emphasized the world that we live in is not an illusion. It is not like a dream. It is a real world. What is its purpose? That is what he wants to spell out. And he has touched upon the philosophy of karma also, action, emphasizing that the objective that we are here for are not ultimately achieved by actions alone. Both selfish and selfless actions, because of law of karma, they will bring their rewards in the present and future life and not help us attain liberation from birth. If there is present life and future life again, then there will always be the pain, because there cannot be a fully painless life. And the objective of his book is Athati with Dukha Atyant Niveti Atyant Purushat. How to get away absolutely from pain. And for that, the mechanism is the discriminatory experiential knowledge between Purush and Prakriti, and that only can bring liberation. That is what he is mentioning here. Only the experientially gained discriminatory knowledge of Purush and Prakriti can bring liberation. That is also asserted by Vedas also. And for that purpose, the universe exists. Because only when I am in the world with these fantastic instruments of body and mind, that I can gain the discriminatory knowledge of Purush and Prakriti. And that only brings liberation. And then he mentions it. What is this knowledge, discriminatory knowledge? What he calls is Vivek Khyati. So that is absence of darkness. So a good dipole, good analogy is darkness versus light. If we want to remove darkness, we need to create a source of light. So if there is an inner darkness in our mind, our Vivek is as if Purush and Prakriti are merged as one. That is our Vivek, absence of Vivek. And that is removed if you gain the Vivek, if you gain the discriminatory knowledge. So avivek is lack of knowledge, which is like darkness, which is lack of light. If you enter into a room which is dark, what a sensible person will do is switch on the light or create a light with a torch light, or you have a candle, or you have some other means. You create a light. Instead of creating light, If you use a gun or make a lot of gunshots, that doesn't remove darkness. The only way you can remove darkness is creating a source of light. So that is what Kapil is mentioning. The only way to get rid of avivek, the absence of understanding, absence of discriminatory knowledge, is to gain knowledge. And all kinds of actions, selfish and selfless actions, they will not help you gain the discriminatory knowledge. You have to, they will not help you get rid of the darkness of avivek. Darkness or avivek is removed only by gaining the discriminatory knowledge. Just like a darkness is hole in a room is removed only by a source of light, and any other action will not remove. So these are the ideas we discussed last time. Now let's move on. So I made a small few subsections. So these are three sutras, 152 to 154. He is discussing what is called Praman. In particular, Pratyaksha Praman. Pratyaksh is direct perception. So he is discussing the mechanism to know the truth. The truth is known in a systematic, logical manner. And that is the inquiry he is mentioning now in 152, chapter 1, 52nd Sutra. द्वयो एकतरस्य वाक् अपि सन्निकष्टार्थ परिच्छित्तिः प्रमा तत्साधकतमं यत् तत् त्रिविधं प्रमाणम्. Dvayo is two entities are there in the universe. We are very familiar with it. There are certain things they are void of consciousness, like this computer, table, chairs, all kinds of things in the world. They lack consciousness. And there are things like a human being, animals, birds. We are conscious being. So he says distinctly there are two entities in the universe, Prakriti and Purush, and we seek to know them in a truthful manner. So both of them or one of them hitherto are unknown, but they get known to us. What is known to us is called Brahma. So he is bringing, defining certain terms, new terms now. Brahma is an objective truth that we seek to know. In this Kapil Sankhya, what is Brahma? Prakriti and Purush, both of them or one of them, one at a time. And then he's saying they are known by three kinds of evidences called Praman. So Praman is an evidence. If you present an evidence, the truth is explicitly there. So he is at the outset and 152 stating that there are three types of evidences, three vidham pramanam, and that will do tat sadhak tamam. They will help us get to know what is the Pema. And what is the Pema? What we seek to know is Purush as well as Prakriti. And we need to go one step by step. So our inquiry will not just jump on both of them, maybe one at a time. That is the meaning of 1.52. 1.53 is saying Tat Siddhau Sav Siddhe Na Adhikya Siddhi. He's saying these three types of evidences called Pramar, they give rise to correct understanding of everything. So there is no need of any additional kind of evidences. So na adhikya siddhi. There is no need of fourth kind because in his view of logical analysis, three kinds of evidences are adequate. So now he will be in 154 describing the first of it, what is called Pratyaksha Praman. Pratyaksh is direct perception. So 1.54 is saying Yat Sambaddham Sat Tadakarollekhi Vijnana Tat Pratyaksham. So his closest instrument is Buddhi. The soul, the Purush, is linked directly to Buddhi, which is what Patanjali is calling Chitta. So objects of truth appear on Buddhi, and then the observer, the Purush, says, I got aware of it. I see the chair, and now I know it is the chair. Because the image of chair has fallen on my Buddhi, and I have concluded this object is a chair. So this is what that whole process is describing as Yat Sambaddham, what I am connected to, Sat Tadakarolleki. When I am properly connected to that object, my Buddhi acquires the image of the chair. Tad Akar. It becomes like that. My Buddhi becomes like the object of interest. I never see the chair, I always see the Buddhi. But Buddhi has adopted the image of the chair at this moment because my eyes are set on that particular chair. So this is what he is explaining. Then when Buddhi has adopted that shape and form, that akar, is not just visual image, it is five-dimensional: sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. So Buddhi becomes that sight, Buddhi becomes that word, Buddhi becomes that taste, Buddhi becomes that smell, Buddhi becomes that touch texture. That's how I get to know it. So that is the meaning of Tadakaro Lekhi. Vijnana Tat Pratyaksham. This he is calling as Pratyaksha Praman, direct perception. So let's see this translation of 1.54. When Buddhi acquires the desired object of interest, then cognizance of that object is called Vijnana. Vijnana is, yes, I know it now. Taking cognition of that object. And this is the first type of Praman, namely Pratyaksha Praman, direct perception. So this is, he is talking about Praman. Previously, if you remember, the sutra was Achakshunanam. So when we were doing that schematic diagram of Kapil, that we said is based on Anuman Praman. We were making an inference. That was not direct perception. So that was inference. That will be considered again next. But tentatively, he had described that using inference, we are making an inference that there is Panchbhut, five gross elements, our 11 organs, 10 organs, and one inner organ of Manas. Then he said Panchbhut, five gross elements are coming from Panch Tanmatra, and all of these are coming from Ahankar. Ahankar is from Buddhi, Buddhi is from Prakriti. So he was going in this direction using Anuman Praman, isn't it? That is the second method he will describe now. But this is the first type of Praman, namely Pratyaksh, where the object of interest appears on my Buddhi as it is. But please remember, he has not yet mentioned whether it is coming through my eyes or through my memory or through somewhere else. He has just mentioned that the instrument of Buddhi has acquired the object of interest. So that is what at this point is. Let's move on to 1.54. Now he is mentioning that this Vijnan, the direct cognition, is not just of the outer objects, objects seen in the outer world, but they are possible for subtle objects also. So that is where So that also is, for him it is pratyaksh pramar, direct perception. Common man will say direct perception is relevant only for the objects that are perceived by one of my five senses. But Kapil is now including that plus something else. Let's read that. 1.55, 1.55. The sutra is yogi nam abahya pratyakshatvat na dosha. Now he's saying the for the yogis, for the yogis, even the objects which are not the outer world objects, they are also known by the way he has described Pratyaksh Pramar. So let's read the translation. 1.55. Was it sufficient to define without mentioning the contact between the object and the organ of knowledge, the sense organs? There could be, somebody could raise this objection that in 1.54, why did he not say that my sense organ is directly in contact with the object of interest? He is not narrowing down his Pratyaksh Praman. His Pratyaksh Praman is very wide ranging. It includes what a layperson is familiar with, plus what yogis go through it. So that's what he's saying. Why that objection is not relevant? Because yogis experience non-external direct perception. Bahya. Bahya is outward, and abahya means non-external. So there are subtle objects which are not visible to a layperson by his sense organs, but yogis can sense it, and when they sense it, that is also to be called as direct perception, pratyaksha pramar. They are not dreaming it. They are like, how did Kapil know about buddhi, ahankar, and all that? These are subtle objects, but he knew it in his deep states of meditation. It appeared on his buddhi. Who is the teacher? That Supreme Ishwar Paramatma. This is what Patanjali will call as Sampajñat Samadhi. When your sense organs are not in contact with the objects of interest, but you are deep in meditation, and on your chitta, some flash of new ideas, new knowledge appears. So that is what he is talking about. In the state of deep meditation, a yogi may come to know of on his buddhi. The instrument of buddhi is still functioning, but buddhi is not in contact. The knowledge that is appearing on buddhi did not come from sense organ. It came from somewhere within. So that is why Sapurvesham Guru Kalena Nacheta. Patanjali Sutra, that Paramatma is the Guru for all of us. So that Paramatma in his kindness, that is his grace to a yogi in his deep state of meditation, he gives a piece of knowledge on his buddhi direct. That is being classified as direct perception by Kapil. That was 1.55. This is related to direct perception of subtle objects in deep state of meditation, sampajyat samadhi. Now 1.56 is saying, लीन वस्तु लब्ध अतिशय संबंधाद va adosha. That is to be translated as, things that are made of matter follow cause and effect relationships, even for the subtle objects not perceptible to common people through senses. So these gross objects are not coming from nowhere. They are not made from nothing. They are made from certain subtle states of matter. And that subtle state of matter, the word lean vastu. Lean is anything for a common man. Common man is also familiar with it. If you break a glass, it becomes broken pieces of glass. Further broken, it becomes powder glass. So that visible glass has become came from powdered form of glass. And yogi goes beyond that. This is cause and effect for a layperson that powder glass or soil can give rise to a earthen pitcher, what is called ghat. Ghat comes from mitti, soil, mida. The glass comes from powder glass. So there is a cause and effect relationship. But for a yogi, that is not the end of it. He goes beyond the powder glass. He goes beyond the soil. And that takes him up to the point of buddhi. And then he can make a conjecture that buddhi also came from prakriti. That will be inference. But by the nature of pratyaksh praman, a yogi can go up to the state of buddhi. He can make direct perception of buddhi. So that is what is said in 1.56. Things that are made of matter follow cause and effect relationship. Like the table is made of wood, wood comes from the trees, and then we can go back as much as possible. But wherever we stop, a yogi can go even beyond that. Even for the subtle objects not perceptible to common people through senses, but they can be ascertained by yogis. So this is now direct perception of subtle objects in Sampajñat Samadhi by practitioners of deep meditation. Let's move on. We are now in a small section 157 to 159. This has become a bone of contention for a lot because 157 is very well known in Samkhya. It is stating Ishvara Asiddhi. Interpreters have translated it as if Maharishi Kapil is an atheist and he's saying Ishwar is unproven. That's how they translate it. But we will do it properly because we know the discussion is on Trividham Pramanam, Pratyaksh Praman, Purushan Praketi, etc. So just preceding sutra was yogis can ascertain the subtle objects of matter by direct perception via sampajñat samadhi. So in that sequence he is saying Ishwar is asiddha. Even yogis don't make a pratyaksh of Ishwar in this manner. What is being discussed? What is this manner? Pratyaksh of an image vijnan on buddhi. On buddhi instrument, that image of the desired object is falling. Now, Ishwar is, even if it is a desired object of interest, its image will never fall on buddhi. Therefore, Ishwar is not to be ascertained in this manner what is being discussed. So let's look at the translation. The aforesaid mechanism of direct perception does not make Ishwar known to us in the present context of matter and its transformation, because it is neither the material cause. So the statement is very clear that Pratyaksh Praman will not lead you to Ishwar, and also Pratyaksh Praman is only for the objects that are made of matter. And they take you up to the point of Prakriti, and this material world is not derived from Ishwar. So there are two ways to look at this 1.57. The mechanism of direct perception, which is nothing but an object of interest appearing on my buddhi, is not valid, is not applicable to Ishwar. because Ishwar is not a material object, is not an object of made of matter, not even a subtle object made of matter. And it is not even what Prakriti is. And it cannot be treated as Prakriti as if Ishwar is the material cause of the universe. So he has negated all those possibilities in 1.57, that this visible world is not made out of Ishwar, it is made out of Prakriti. And Ishwar cannot be ascertained on your instrument of buddhi. Both these meanings have been made clarified in 1.57, which for no reason has become a source of gross misunderstanding about the great Rishi Kapil. You will be surprised if you try to understand what's going on in the world. Kapil has been classified as an atheist. That is the improper understanding. Let's move on to 1.58 now. 1.58 Mukta Badhyo Anyataya Abhava Na Tat Siddhi. Now he is clarifying 157 again. If it was a normal Purush like me and you all, we have two possibilities, Mukta as well as Baddha. We are either a liberated soul or a bonded soul. Mukta Baddha. Then he's saying Mukta Baddhayo Anyata Abhavat Na. Let's read the translation first, that will be helpful. 1.58. As it happens with the tiny soul that we are, that is either in liberated state or in bonded state, mukta, but there is no third possibility. For an individual soul like mine and yours, we are either, like in this visible human form, we are in bonded state. We have been enveloped by buddhi and other parts of mind and then body and so on and so forth. We have been put together. And what we are seeking is liberated state, mukta state. These are the only two possibilities for us. There is no third possibility. But Ishwar cannot be in either of these two states. Cannot be said liberated, because if he is liberated, as if previously he was bonded. And of course he is not bonded. So Ishwar is not in either of these. So how can he become the material cause of the universe? If the universe were to be made out of Ishwar, then Ishwar and that universe is also unconscious things, etc. So how can Ishwar become this universe? Unless he becomes bonded with the matter, Prakriti, which he is not. So he is neither a Mukt nor a Baddha. So he cannot get united with Prakriti and give rise to all this. He will always be separated from Prakriti. So that is what is mentioned in 1.58, which is actually a corollary of 1.57. He is arguing further. Ishwar cannot be the material cause of the universe because he is neither Mukta nor Baddha. Otherwise, how he becomes himself the material cause? Then in 159 he says, Ubhaithapi Satkayatvam. Now this is Satkayavad of Kapil, that any effect possesses certain characteristics, they are there in its cause. It just doesn't take birth out of nothing. This table has certain characteristics. Those characteristics are nothing but the characteristics of wood out of which it is made from. So the characteristics of wood and the table are one to one. Table doesn't have any new characteristic which wood did not have. So he is reminding us. Because in this world we see the unconscious things as well as conscious beings. Now Ishvara is eternally conscious. Now how can these things be derived from Ishvara? This chair is unconscious. How can you say the chair is made out of Ishvara, which Ishvara is a conscious entity? If it is made out of Ishvara, it should also be conscious. So that is the meaning here. Ubhayatha api asatkayatvam. Because the chair is unconscious, its cause must be unconscious. Therefore, Ishvara cannot be its cause, material cause we are talking about. So that 1.59 is saying, moreover, it is not viable for the unconscious universe to arise from the conscious Ishvara, even if it were to be in Mukta or Baddha states. So firstly, he made an objection. Ishvara cannot become the universe because he is neither Mukta nor Baddha. How can he become united with Prakriti? It is not possible. Suppose there was a hypothetical mechanism, then in 1.59 he is refuting that if it was, if Ishwar and Prakriti were so united hypothetically, then naturally Ishwar's consciousness will come into everything in the universe, which is not seen. So this is called Satkayavad, that is Kapil Satkayavad. What is he saying? The property of an effect is originating from the property that was in its cause. If the chair is void of consciousness, then all its, wherever it came from, the wood and all that, they must also be void of consciousness. But Ishwar is with consciousness, so Ishwar cannot be the cause of the material world. So 157 to 59, Ishwar is not the material cause, so cannot be expected to be seen on his buddhi the way we see other matter, other objects made of matter, gross objects or even subtle objects. That was direct perception. So that Pratyaksh Praman is not valid for Ishwar. Now we are in 1.60 and 61, where having mentioned Ishwar, he reminds us he is not the material cause. The universe is not made out of Ishwar, but made by Ishwar. So he is the efficient cause. Like I see this table made of wood, wood is the material cause, but that log of wood does not become table by itself. A conscious being, namely a carpenter, acts upon that. So when you see a wooden table, there are two causes behind that effect. A material cause is a log of wood, and there is an efficient cause, agental cause, namely a conscious being whom we know in our community as carpenter. He has all the knowledge how to transform that log of wood into a table, and he has the skill. He performs certain actions on the log of wood to cause this transformation. He has the knowledge and the skill to transform the log of wood into a table. And that is his consciousness, that he has the knowledge and ability to perform karma, action. So that is with Ishwar, insofar as this infinite creation is concerned. So in this background, let's look at it 1.60. Muktatmana prasansa upasa siddhasya va. Now he is saying, if Ishwar was not the material cause, then why is it happening that we praise so much? Let me read my own translation. 1.60. But then why the Vedas praise the universe as if it is born out of Ishwar? In common nomenclature, we say, what a beautiful world. Sometimes it is say, what a beautiful design of God. As if this is God itself. Early morning sunrise. You see the sunrise, but sometimes you praise that God. So that is the context he is saying. Paging the universe is actually paging its creator, the efficient cause. Why? To motivate us to be with it via meditation. So, Muktatmana Prasansa Upasa Upas. Upas is Upasana, meditation. Asiddhasyava. For Upasana purpose, to motivate us to Upasana, this is an expression here. Prasansa is praising. Praising the universe, not just that Praketi, but its creator. So that creator who is the efficient cause of the universe, the layperson is motivated that you should seek to unite with that Ishwar via meditation. So when we praise God, it doesn't mean God has become the material cause of universe. He is the efficient cause of the universe. He is the creator. Like you see a wonderful painting. There are two elements here. The canvas that is made of paper or cloth and a number of oil paints and what not. These were all the material things that have gone into the painting. But they don't go into themselves. There is a brilliant painter, creative painter, that human being who uses all this stuff to create that wonderful painting. And then when you see the painting, you can praise all those raw material as well as the painter. But generally we praise, what a wonderful painter. We say like that. So we are praising the painting, but we usually praise the painter, not those colors and not that, less often. Similarly, when Vedas motivate us, this is beautiful God. Of course, the universe is beautiful. Here, the beauty is originating from the Creator, the Ishwar, though He has created all this out of Prakriti, out of matter. So, they are material cause, the raw material which goes into giving rise to the object that are seen by us, and then there is a agental cause, efficient cause, the conscious entity who has caused that transformation. So he's saying in 1.60, he's refuting. Somebody may say that, oh, we praise the universe, we praise Ishwar, and when we praise Ishwar, as if Ishwar has become the universe. No, no, no. He is negating that possibility. He is saying the role of Ishwar is that of efficient cause, the, the maker of the thing. And it is made out of matter, namely the Prakriti. In 1.61, Tat Sannidhanad, Tat Sannidhan, Tat Sannidhanadasthistatva Manivat. Now he is making a statement that how Ishwar can create all this out of Prakriti which is unconscious. And he is neither Mukta nor Baddha, he is not uniting with it. Then how does it work? Because how, like, we are familiar with it. A carpenter acts on the log of wood and creates it. He does get connected to the wood in certain manner. Or the painter does get connected to the paint, oil paint, and then he creates the painting. So he's asking, the layman is asking, how does Ishwar connect to the Prakriti without becoming Baddha also, without getting bonded? That is the inquiry, that is the question. So 1.61 translation is, if Ishwar is not Baddha, is not bonded to Prakriti, then how does he create the universe out of Prakriti? That is bothering a layman. To that, Kapil is answering, Ishwar acts upon the Prakriti as a magnet is able to make iron move. So Manivat, Adhishtatyatva. Adhishtatyatva means he has the authority over it. Magnet has an authority over the iron. There is an iron nail at some distance and you bring a magnet. Magnet has a power to attract that iron nail towards it and make it move. Magnet has that power to pull that iron nail towards itself. In the same manner, he's giving an example now because the layperson is disturbed. How does Ishwar create all this out of Prakriti without becoming Baddha? We also do many things, but we are in the bonded form. As a bonded form, a carpenter makes things out of wood, isn't it? If it is a liberated soul, if a carpenter becomes a liberated soul, he cannot become a carpenter again, isn't it? So that is the question bothering the layperson. What is this Ishwar who is able to make things out of Prakriti and yet is not bonded by Prakriti? So Ishwar is the presiding or governing entity over Prakriti. Prakriti is inert and is acted upon by Ishwar, where Ishwar doesn't get bonded. I hope you see the flow of argument one after another. It's a masterpiece from a genius like Kapil. We have few more moments. Let's see. Okay, I have planned to. Okay, let's try our best. So I have planned quite a lengthy discussion today. Now we are in because there is Ishwar, which is a macro, infinite soul, and we are Purush, micro level, a tiny soul. So he has discussed that Ishwar is the agental cause, is the efficient cause, and creates so many things, the infinite things that we see in the universe out of Prakriti without being bonded. But when you see the universe, there are many things that we have also made, like a carpenter has made a table, isn't it? We cannot say Ishwar made this table. So he is now trying to complete the picture with 1.62. The statement is Vishesh Karyeshwapi Jivanam. Vishesh Karyeshu is coming from the living conscious beings. Also, 1.62. Also, the tiny souls cause effects. They act upon what is called Vishesh. Vishesh, you remember, if you remember, in our schematic diagram of Kapil's, it begins from the left to right, if you remember. Prakriti gives rise to Buddhi, Buddhi gives rise to Ahankar. Then there was a green line which Ahankar becomes Panchtanmatya, five subtle elements. That become five gross elements called Panchabhut. And on the lower side there was a red line. Ahankar gives rise to one inner organ of Manas, mind, five sense organs, five organs for action. Now, in this schematic diagram, the right hand side things which are amenable to our sense organs, that is made by Panchabhut, five gross elements, and our five senses and five organs for action. They are called as Vishesh. So Vishesh is so when we have Vishesh, then we give rise to all kinds of things. So human beings cannot create things out of five subtle elements. They make things out of five gross elements. We make a brick out of soil, then we build houses. So for us, the lowest layer of cause is Panchabhut, five gross elements. And our instruments are five senses, five sense organs, five organs for action and mind. So that is the body of called Vishesh. That is what interacts with the external world, visible world. So here it is a technical world, philosophical world. Vishesh Karyeshu. Kaya is an effect, Karan is cause. So what he's saying is all the effects that we see that are caused by where the efficient cause is conscious beings, human beings, animals, birds, insects. Birds make a nest, this and that. Animals do make certain things. All that conscious beings are creating as an agental cause, as an efficient cause, effects out of cause, and that cause is Vishesh. They cannot create things out of subtle causes, which Ishwar can do it. Ishwar has created buddhi out of Prakriti, Ahankar out of buddhi, Panch Tanmatra out of buddhi, and lot of visible natural world out of Panchabhut. But we cannot go in the inner part of the diagram. We create things out of Panchabhut only. So he's talking about the universe, having described the material cause. Ishwa is not the material cause and is not amenable on our buddhi, but he definitely is the efficient cause. And now, in that context, he says that yes, we human beings and other conscious beings, animals and birds, they can also become efficient cause. They give rise to certain effects in the universe, but that is limited, that they are made out of Vishesh only. Now 1.63. Siddha Rupa Bodhyatvad Vakyathopadesha. Now, having mentioned this tiny soul, that he is an efficient cause, as if he performs an action. Like I said, carpenter creates a table out of wood. Now he's talking about the soul. This is not only the doer, it is not that it only performs the action, it is a knower also. Siddha Rupa Bodhyatvad Vakya. And since it is a knower, there is Updesh for him. If, like I am trying to teach something to you, I do this because I know you have an ability to know, to comprehend the ideas which I am saying. If there was an animal sitting in front of me, I will not talk about Kapil Sankhya to him. So if there is an Updesh, if somebody is saying something, of course, the listener, the person at the other end, has an ability to listen, has an ability to make sense out of it, has an ability to comprehend. So that is what he is saying in 1.63. The soul is not only the doer, but is knower too. He has an ability. He is not only karta, he is jnata also. For him alone the Vedas are revealed. Updesh. Paramatma is the Purvesham api Guru Kalenan Vachidat. He is the original teacher of us, and he has given us the Updesh of revealed word of the Vedas, because we are not only the doer, we are also the knower. So there is a relationship between Ishwar and me. He is my teacher and I am his student. Now in 1.64, this is related to the soul, the tiny soul. Antakaranasya tad ujvalitvat lohovad adhishtatvam. Now this is relationship between me, the tiny soul, and that infinite soul of Ishwar. What is that relationship? If I get connected to him, what will happen? He gives an example of lohovad adhish. An iron ball, loho is iron ball in a hot furnace, a coal-fired furnace, and if you put a iron ball in it, iron ball can be disconnected from the furnace, then it is just a black iron ball. If you put it into the furnace, with after a while, it also becomes red hot, like the coal furnaces. So he is giving that example. Let me read the translation. The mind appears to be the presiding governing entity because of its nearness to the soul, as an iron ball gets red hot when in a hot furnace. Common man is disturbed by the point that if my soul is the whole thing, it is the efficient cause, it is also the knower, doer, then why do we talk in day to day life that my mind did it, my body did it, isn't it? So that is what he is trying to say, that this Purush, the tiny soul, and Buddhi are together. They are so close to each other. Here, because of that connectivity, actually the ability, the consciousness, the doer, the ability to become a doer, the ability to become a knower is that of the soul. But the buddhi, because of its proximity to the soul, gets a gets to that power to itself because of its proximity. How does it happen? Like the iron ball becomes red hot in a hot coal fired furnace. So the iron ball is like our buddhi. The coal fired furnace is like my soul, my push. When my buddhi is in close proximity of my soul, my push, the actual ability of jnata and karta is that of the soul. But that property is acquired by buddhi also. So buddhi becomes an instrument to know and also an instrument to perform karma. Actually, carpenter is performing through his buddhi and all other outer instruments of hand and eyes and ears and all that. But all these powers of all these organs are actually originating from his soul. That same carpenter, if he is dead, the soul has left his body, that becomes dead body. Now he cannot transform that log of wood into a table. So all his abilities were actually that of his soul. But that soul does not really transform the wood into table. It does it through its instruments of buddhi and hands and feet and all those things. Then the question is asked, why those organs have the ability? They have the ability because buddhi is in close proximity of soul. So buddhi has acquired the abilities, the power of soul, and that has permeated down the line. And finally, he is able to act. So the discussion is on efficient cause of the soul. Of course, Ishwa is in an infinite sense, he is the efficient cause of the entire universe. But we tiny souls are also there, and we are not only the doer, we are also the knower. And if it is so, then why it is that our buddhi and other instruments acquire this property? Then he has said, they acquire the property, it is not their own, it is actually that of the soul, and they acquire it merely because of their proximity to the soul. That was 1.64. Now he is going into other two kinds of evidences. Pratyaksh Pramar we have discussed. Anuman Pramar, there was an tentative allusion to that, but now he goes further to evidences. 1.65, 1.66. He is mentioning them. 1.65 is Pratibandha Desha, Pratibandha Jnanam Anumanam. What is Anuman Praman, which I am translating as inference? So Anuman is the second kind of Praman based on cause and effect relationship. Then I am giving an example, such as clouds and rain. If I am in the open field, I see it is raining and there are clouds up in the sky. But then I come into my home and I see from my window. What am I seeing from my window? It is raining. But from my window, I don't see the clouds, but yet I make an inference that there must be clouds up in the sky that are causing the rain. Actually, I am seeing my direct perception, pratyaksh, is only about the rain. The water is falling on the surface of the earth. I, however, I make an inference. This is the second type of praman called anuman. I make an inference there must be clouds up in the sky. Though I am not able to see the clouds up in the sky from my home, yet I say it with 100% confidence. So, this is also a truthful statement that there are clouds up in the sky, and this statement is coming out of Anuman Praman based on the rain that is falling on the surface of the earth. And inbuilt there is a Pratibandha Desha, that is the word. There is a irrefutable relationship between clouds and the rain, which I have seen in direct perception long ago. Based on that relationship, it is not in an arbitrary manner I am saying there must be clouds, because there is a definite cause and effect relationship. The clouds and the rain is a cause and effect relationship which has been established in a forthcoming manner and is irrefutable. Now, when I see only the effect, I say confidently about the cause, and that ability is called as Anuman Praman. That logical analysis is called as Anuman Praman. 1.65. 1.66 is Aptopadesha Shabda. This is Shabda Praman, it is called. The third kind of Praman is testimony. Shabda, or one who has realized the particular knowledge. Suppose I am in my home, but in the basement where I cannot even see it is raining. But a friend of mine walks in, he comes and he tells me it is raining outside. Based on that, I make a statement, it is raining outside. This is based on the testimony because my friend has just come and he is telling me. And I have no reason to doubt him. And then I go a step ahead. This is Shabda Praman because he is telling me, I tell my child, look, it is raining outside. I haven't seen it is raining, but my friend has told me. And then sometimes I may tell my child, a second, there must be clouds up in the sky. Now that statement is coming from Anuman Praman. So basically, in this instance, my friend had a Pratyaksh Praman because he was walking into my house. Before that, he got wet and he saw the rain is coming. For him, it is Pratyaksh Praman. He comes and tells me that it is raining outside. So for me, the fact that it is raining is a Shabda Praman, is based on the Shabda Praman. It is based on his testimony, I am saying that. And then I can make an inference, because it is raining outside, there must be clouds up above my house. And I tell my child, there are clouds up in the sky. That is based on inference. So, this instance, I am trying to explain how we ascertain, get to know a truthful knowledge via these three types of evidences. Direct perception, which, just to remind you again, which could be for layperson about the Bahya Jagat, the external world, but for yogis it includes even the subtle object. Then there was Anuman Praman based on irrefutable cause and effect relationship. And then there was Shabda Praman. I think that is enough for today. So we conclude our sixth session at 1.66 and we'll continue from here next week. Thank you all for joining us and have a good week. See you next week. Have a good time.